Okay, this is Miss Dennison. Sorry, my voice sounds like this. I'm a little sick, but I know a lot of you have been having trouble with demand and supply. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that and hopefully kind of explain it a little bit better. So I'm going to go through the lessons and some of the tasks, and hopefully at the end you'll have a better idea of how supply and demand works. Demand is basically just how much of a product people are willing to buy at a certain price. Price and quantity have an inverse relationship with this. So if the price is low, people are going to buy more. If the price is high, people are going to buy less. And if you look in this demand schedule over here, you'll see when the price of a car stereo is $500, people are only going to buy 500 of those. But when the price of a car stereo is $100, people will buy about 5,000 of those. Now, the demand curve starts at the upper left and goes down to the lower right. This demand schedule and demand curve are the same information, they're just in different views. Now, here's something that is important to remember: a change in price does not change the demand. Okay, it only changes the amount that is demanded or the quantity that is demanded. So, for example, if car stereos go from $300 to $200, that's not going to shift the demand curve. It's simply going to move down the demand curve from 300 to 200. So, what does change demand or shift the demand curve? Well, it's a very simple acronym called INSECT. Okay, changes in income, the number of consumers in the market, the price of a substitute, the expectation of prices in the future, the price of a complement, or a change in taste or preferences. Those are all things that change the demand curve. Okay, like I said earlier, when you change the price, you only change where things lie on the demand curve. Okay, for example, demand curve 1 has point A and point B. A decrease in price would go from A to B. An increase in price would go from B to A. That's all that changes when you change the price. Okay, but these other things, INSECT, what we just talked about, they're going to shift the curve. If demand increases, the curve is going to shift to the right from D1 to D2. That's an increase in demand. If there's a decrease in demand, it's going to shift to the left from D1 to D3. That would be a decrease. Now, there are two types of goods: normal goods and inferior goods. Most goods are normal goods. And when you have more money, you're going to buy those goods. For example, if you all of a sudden get an increase in income, you might go to the movies, or you may go buy a new top or something like that. Inferior goods are opposite. Okay, there's an increase in demand for inferior goods when your income decreases. These are things that, excuse me, are cheaper to buy than the actual thing. For example, when our income decreases, we might start purchasing more flour. That is an inferior good because it's easier to make your own bread than to go buy bread. Or we may buy used tires, or we may take the bus. So those are the difference in normal goods and inferior goods. Substitute items satisfy the same thing. Fords and Chevys, they're both trucks. They satisfy the same want. Coke and Pepsi satisfy the same want. Complementary items go well together, such as pancake mix and syrup, such as cars and gasoline. Okay, the number of consumers in a market also determines the demand. If there are more consumers, the demand is higher. If there are less, the demand is lower. And then change in taste. That also determines demand. Taste can be based on the season. For example, you're not going to buy a winter coat in the summer. It can be based on advertising, latest trends. Kim Kardashian is drinking some kind of diet drink, then the demand for that diet drink is probably going to go up because Kim Kardashian is a popular person in our society, unfortunately. Okay, an increase in demand or a shift to the right will occur when any of these things happen. A person's income increases and it's a normal good. A person's income decreases and it's an inferior good. The number of consumers increases. The price of a substitute item increases. So if Ford increases their prices, more people may demand Chevys. Consumers expect the price of a product to rise in the future. The price of a complement decreases. There's a sale on pancake mix. More people might buy pancake mix, which means they might also buy syrup. And the consumer desires or tastes a product more. Now, there will be a decrease in demand or a shift in the demand curve to the left when one of the following happens. A person's income decreases with a normal good. A person's income increases with an inferior good. The number of consumers decreases. The price of a substitute items decreases. Okay, if Ford decreases their prices, then people aren't going to buy Chevys, they're going to buy Fords. Consumers expect the price of a product to fall in the future. The price of a complement increases, or the consumer desires or tastes a product less. So, let's look at a couple of questions from your assignment. We're not going to do all of them, we're just going to do a few of them, and we'll see how it goes. So, there's your graph, and you're choosing which letter goes with each question. Is it a decrease in price, an increase in price, increase in demand, decrease in demand, or no change? And I'm going to be honest with you, the no change questions are kind of tricky. All right, the nation is experiencing a severe drought with no sign of relief in the future. So what is going to happen to umbrellas? I'll give you some time to think about that. It's going to be D. There's going to be a decrease. Okay? If it's a drought and there's no rain coming, why would you buy an umbrella? The demand for umbrellas is going to decrease. To help sell umbrellas, stores offer a 50% discount. So what happens to umbrellas? A, there's a decrease in price. Umbrellas are cheaper. That doesn't change the demand for umbrellas. Because even though umbrellas are cheaper, if it's a drought, people still are probably not going to buy umbrellas. The cost of producing umbrellas increases. This one is tricky. I'll just go ahead and tell you. It's E. There's no change. Production costs don't affect the demand. Okay, the price of Xbox game consoles is reduced 50%. So what's going to happen to Xbox games? Ooh, we got to go down a little bit. That's going to be C. There's going to be an increase in demand. This is why. Game consoles, Xbox consoles, and Xbox games are complements. Okay? Xbox consoles are now cheaper. More people are going to go buy an Xbox, which means they're also going to have to go buy games for their Xbox. So the demand is going to increase. We'll do one more. The price of Xbox game consoles is reduced 50%. What happens to PlayStation game consoles? You already saw that. That is D. It's going to decrease. Because if Xboxes are cheaper and PlayStations and Xboxes are supplements, they serve the same purpose, people aren't going to go buy PlayStations. They're going to go buy the cheaper Xbox. Okay, let's go over supply. Supply is basically how much of a product producers are willing to sell at different prices. Okay, price and quantity have a direct relationship with supply. If the price is high, then the supply is going to be high. If the price is low, quantity is going to be low. That's the law of supply. If you look over here, when $500 is the cost of a stereo, they're going to supply 4,000 of them. Excuse me. Now the supply curve starts at the lower left and goes to the upper right. Once again, change in price does not change the supply. It only changes the quantity that is supplied. You would still stay on the supply curve. So, items that change the supply. It's going to be pest strip, changes in productivity, the expectation of future prices, government subsidies, government business taxes, the number of suppliers, advances in technology, government regulations, the cost of inputs, and a change in the price of related goods. Okay, when you change the price, you only change the quantity supplied. You stay along this. You don't change the supply. I don't know why it's got a graph that's showing you that. When you change an insect, you change the supply. An increase in supply would shift the curve to the right, S1 to S2. A decrease in supply would shift the curve to the left, S1 to S3. Now, an increase in supply or a shift to the right will occur when one of these happens. A company's workers have an increase in productivity. A producer expects the price of their product to fall in the future. The government increases the subsidy to the business. The government decreases the taxes on a business. The number of suppliers in a market increases. There's an increase in technology. The amount of government regulations is decreased on the business. There is a decrease in the cost of input prices for the business, and the price of related goods decreases. There is a decrease in the supply or a shift to the left when one of the following happens. Companies' workers have a decrease in productivity. A producer expects the price of their product to rise in the future. The government decreases the subsidy to the business. The government increases the taxes on a business. The number of suppliers in a market decreases. There's a decrease in technology. The amount of government regulations is increased on the business. There's an increase in the cost of input prices for the business, and the price of related goods increases. So let's look at this supply key, and some of these are wrong on this key, so I'm going to tell you what the correct answer is. But you see, we have our letters. Increase in price goes from A to B. Decrease goes from B to A. Increase in supply goes S1 to S2. Decrease goes S1 to S3, and then there's no change. Okay, I'll just show you this one. The cost of resins used in making of plastic decreases. So what's going to happen to toys? It's going to be C, the supply increases because toys are now cheaper to make, so they can make more of them. The government increases the minimum wage, supply of most things. Okay, that is going to be D, decreases. This is why if employers are having to pay their employees more money, that's money that could be going to production costs that is now going to pay your employees. So the supply is going to be less. The government increases the regulations on all delivery vehicles. That's also going to be D. Okay, if you go back and look over here, decrease is when government regulations is increased on the business. Okay, number 4, the price of toys increases. What's going to happen? It's going to be A. You go from A to B. There's a price increase. Doesn't change the supply. The Mattel Toy Company has a 2-for-1 sale on its toys. And that's going to be B. The price decreases. Because now you get 2 for the price of 1. So if originally toys were $10 a piece, now they're 2 for 1. You're getting toys for $5 a piece. So it's a decrease in price. Okay. Excuse me. Just a couple of things about equilibrium that have to do with supply and demand that I wanted to tell you about. Market equilibrium is a market clearing price. This is the only price only one price and quantity on which consumers and producers agree. And when only a single curve is shifting, there are only 4 possible ways the graph and equilibrium point can change. Okay? When there's an increase in demand, price and quantity increase. Supply has stayed the same. Decrease in demand, price and quantity decrease. Supply stays the same. Increase in supply, price decreases, quantity increases. The demand is the same. Decrease in supply, price increases, quantity decreases. Demand stays the same. Okay, now if the price of a product is too high or above equilibrium, there will be a surplus of the product. The solution for that is that producers must lower their prices. If the price is too low or below equilibrium, there's going to be a shortage. and consumers will have to bid up the price to fix that problem. Okay, I hope this has made a little more sense. To be honest with you, if you go back and you use these insect pages and the pest strip pages, they give you the answers to some of those questions in your assignments. Like without even looking at the graph. Like there's an increase in government regulations. You should automatically know that an increase in government regulations is going to be a decrease in supply because it says it right there. So I hope this helped. Email me if you have any questions, and I'll be more than happy to help you.